Creepy things happen before the grave.
A Monster Hunter's Diary, Entry 2, by BlazingPheonix07. So, I've been doing more research, and this journal originates from a crucial time in the Lovak's history, just a year or two before the disassembly due to practices deemed unethical by other clans. I can hardly find anything on Kolme, though. Anyway, here it is, the next entry. The fire, nothing more than a pile of hot embers now, glowed a soft amber light, warming up the inside of the cave. How many breeds of werewolves are there in this part of the world? I asked JL, the last question for the night. 2, the Vukodlak and the Vokalak, she answered quickly. I stared at her, a bored expression on my face. The difference is, the Vokodlak are small and the Vokalak are dangerous, she finally spit out. Close enough, I sighed. The Vokodlak look extremely similar to normal wolves, but the only way to tell them apart is because they still try to act like humans and often act depressed. They are cursed by witches and should not be killed, but helped. Tell me how it is that they act. Well, sometimes they won't eat meat and dig through the trash instead, or they will try and wash themselves like a normal human. They act sad and will cry sometimes too. Oh yeah, they can understand us too, she stated. Reread that section by the morning. I will quiz you during our ride, I ordered. She gave a tired moan in return. Now tell me of the Vokalak, in detail, or I will have you do more chain whips tonight, I said, rubbing my face. She picked up on combat training, trapping, tracking, archery, and other physical practices like she had a whole lifetime of experience already, but she couldn't read a book if her soul depended on it. She stopped and thought for a minute. Good. Vokalak are witches or wise men who turn themselves into werewolves. They are really dangerous because they are much bigger than humans. Vokalak also typically walk on 2 legs and look much more human. They are usually much more violent since they became werewolves on their own and want revenge or are just bad people. And while most people think they must be killed in some special way, they die just like anything else. The corner of my mouth perked up a little bit, and I rested my chin in my hand to hide it. She actually got one right. 3 days of studying on the road and she actually finally got one. She might just be able to become a Lovak. Good. Now reread the chapter and get some sleep. We set out at sunrise, I told her while lying down next to the dying fire. The village was silent in the morning. On many doors hung a black cloth, the mark of widows. Apparently, the men of the village had gone missing. Some bodies have been discovered with missing heads, while others had their organs eaten as well. A group of guards met me in the village center. It was also empty. I presume you are the hunter we called for? A short, stubby man asked while tipping his head far back to glare over his nose at me. My horse made me 2.5 times taller than him. On the shoulder of his coif stood 3 stripes. This is most likely the captain. Yes, I am with the Lovak. Now tell me, what is your name? I muttered. Just show me the bodies already. I am Captain Sicarios. He stood proud as he said it, brandishing a look he thought threatening. He stood for a few seconds, staring, waiting for me to tell him my name, or perhaps to grovel at his feet. People like this have been irksome lately. Must be my old age. Nearly my mid-20s already. I used to be renowned for my patience. I guided my horse past him. He had to scoot out of my way or get his shiny boots scuffed. He chose the smart choice and stumbled back. I stopped my horse and with some sarcasm asked, Where, dear captain, are the bodies? I had them burned. I don't want no forest demons coming back to finish their meal, he said, slipping into a country drawl. Apparently, I wasn't worth the effort of seeming fancy anymore. Of course, it exposed just how stupid this man was. Anything that wanted the meal would have eaten it or hid it, where a stumbling man wasn't going to get it. I sighed. Perhaps you can tell me where I can find an inn, unless you burnt that too in order to get rid of the bedbugs. His comeback was lost to the beat of my horse's hooves as I rode towards the forest. Jael rode up next to me. "That guy was a show-off, but you definitely knocked him down a few pegs," she giggled. "I'm not sure you should be following me, Jael. We don't know what creature is out here." I glanced in her direction. She bristled with excitement. "But didn't the request say that the man went missing at night? Also, I don't think that a man should be left alone with something targeting him," she said with a pleading face. "I'm no normal man. You can come, but keep your wits about you." I gave in. She put her hand on the plain short sword I had given her and readied a serious face that hardly hid her smile. With her other hand, she counted the arrows in the quiver that hung from the horse's saddle. "We are looking for bodies, or any markings that seem out of the ordinary," I told her. The forest was silent. No bugs, no birds, no wind. The sun hardly shined through the dense canopy, leaving everything a shadowy gray, just light enough to see. But in the areas where the light streamed through the cracks, the leaves seemed to shimmer like they were adorned with crystals. Jael screamed. I looked over to see her flailing her arms wildly around her face. Her horse, now startled, began to rear up. "Spider, spider, spider!" she shrieked. Poor girl was too busy searching for clues that she had ran her face right into a spider web. I hopped off my horse and ran over, grabbing the reins of hers. "Calm down before it bucks you off," I commanded, yanking the head of the horse down. Searching for the tiny spider whose home she had just destroyed. "I think it's better we continue on foot. I don't want you to spook whatever's out here by you screaming at the top of your lungs again." I glared at her. I slipped my sword from my saddle and slapped it into the sheath at my hip and clipped my arrow quiver to my belt. She climbed off her horse, staying quiet and avoiding eye contact, and did the same with her weapons. We both knocked arrows and began to creep through the undergrowth. Finally, some noise slipped through the silence. Singing. A female was singing in the darkness. It was hardly a whisper, but she hummed and whistled in a way that could make even the bugs smile and dance. We edged towards the noise slowly. Eventually we came to a clearing. The sun's rays glowed bright yellow, putting spotlights on the flowers that danced in a soft breeze that blew through the opening to the sky. The middle of the opening sat a beautiful woman. Long black hair flowed down into the grass. A loose white dress twirled in the wind. In tiny, delicate hands rested a blossoming flower that matched the tall flowers that hid her legs and the lower part of her slender abdomen from view. The air around her seemed to glisten and shine like the leaves in the rest of the forest. I don't trust this," Jael stuttered. "I don't either, but we have nothing like this around here. Maybe she is some goddess," I thought out loud. I stepped forward. Jael stayed hidden. "If something happens, just run." I slipped my arrow into my quiver and hooked my bow on it so it dangled on my waist. I nudged out of the shadows, and the lady's head slowly turned towards me. She had a round face and slim, almost squinty eyes. "Aren't the flowers lovely?" she hummed and held the one in her hands up for me to see. "Yes, but what are you doing out here? Haven't you heard of the disappearances?" She wasn't normal. Something about her was way off. I lifted my head, trying to peer over the flowers that still hid her waist. On the ground in front of me laid a massive bundle of silk. My face tickled, but I ignored it. I can't afford to show an opening here. The air around me continued to shimmer as if the stars themselves rested in the air. "Why don't you come sit with me? We can enjoy the flowers together." She tempted me forward with her hands, her bust bursting through the top of her dress as she squeezed her arms together. A bright white smile adorned her gorgeous face. "I think I might." I stepped forward toward the bundle of fabric. It was about a foot thick and 6 feet long. Each of its ends came to soft points, like it wasn't rolled properly. I stopped just before it, looking around, feigning wonder. "I never would have thought that flowers could grow so tall in the middle of a forest." "I grew them myself. They are my pride and joy," she stated. She still held her hands up, waiting for me to come and take them. "They must have some extraordinary care and fertilizer." I gaped at the nearby flower, kneeling down to sniff it. I slipped a dagger from my calf and cut the bundle of fabric. Up close, it was very sinewy, almost like strings. I watched from the corner of my eye. As gloop flowed out of the opening I had created, then a bone nudged out. I struggled to hide my surprise. I looked up to the sky, squinting my eyes to block out the rays of the sun. What could she be? A shimmer streaked through the air above my head, creating a shining line of white light. "Sir?" the lady asked, her beaming smile now gone. "You are very attractive." I took a few steps towards her. Her smile was instantly back. "I must say, sir, that you look like you are quite strong. How about you take off that heavy cloak and those bulky weapons and come lay with me for a while?" She leaned forward and pushed her chest out. She looks like she's from the east, but what's up with the glimmering hair and the body and that thick string? Jael and her spiderweb. All the missing people were men. This woman and her flirtiness? Dorogumo, the spider whore. I don't think we've had a yokai around here in a very long time. The tides are changing. Migrations are happening. What is going on in this world? "So, are you gonna come over here?" she asked. "If I do, I will be in major danger. Only one option then." I hooked my finger on my bow and twirled it into the air. I caught it with my left hand and knocked an arrow with my right. I shot an arrow. It sailed through the air like a sparrow and missed. I shot two more, and they grazed off webbing and flew foot wide to either side of the yokai. She stood. Flowers flew in all directions as 8 slender, black spider legs ripped through the ground as she charged at me. Her large, smooth black abdomen shone in the light. Her spider body was massive, at least 5 feet long, and as round as a large tree. Each leg was about 4 feet long. She was in front of me before I even knew it. I whipped my sword from its sheath and swung at a spider leg as it rushed to my face. My sword bounced off and hardly left a scratch on her hard exoskeleton, but I managed to redirect the blow and it missed. Another leg grabbed my other arm with 2 sharp pinchers. I hacked at the limb, but it did nothing, and she seized my sword arm and lifted me into the air. She stroked my cheek with her hand. "You aren't human, are you? You have such lovely eyes." I smirked. "So does that mean you won't eat me?" "You like avoiding questions. You have such pointy teeth, and you are quite large, although everyone here is much larger than the humans where I come from." She sniffed me and studied me. "Why aren't you scared?" she asked. "I came to terms with the possibility long ago, and I'm quite glad I'm going to die to an intelligent creature. Please make it quick." I shrugged in return. "Of course, I'm not done yet. I need an opening. Maybe I can at least fatally wound her before I die." She nodded. "As you wish." 2 long mandibles sprouted from her mouth. At the end of each was a 3-inch fang that dripped with poison. All along her forehead and temple opened tiny little eyes that had remained hidden until now. A soft twang breached the silence, and an arrow ripped through a joint in one of the legs holding me. I swung my legs up and kicked her square in the face with both of my feet. Her head rocked back, and she let go of one arm. I reached out and ripped the arrow through the joint and jammed it into her shoulder. She dropped me and roared into the sky in rage. Sorry for the cliffhanger. I just got a call. Kids are going missing down south. I hope it's not another alligator again. Until next time.